I cannot sleep anymore. Not since I found that forum. It started innocently enough, just another late-night coding session fueled by energy drinks and curiosity. I had been working on neural interface algorithms for months. It was my specialty, creating pathways between human thought and computer response. That night I ventured deeper into forums I normally avoided, following a thread about theoretical mind control that seemed too technically accurate to be written by amateurs. The link appeared in my private messages after I commented on a post, just a simple string of characters followed by an onion address. I should have ignored it, should have gone to bed, should have done literally anything else. But programmers like me, we cannot resist the pull of forbidden knowledge, the temptation to peek behind digital curtains others fear to touch. The forum called itself NeuroNexus, its interface primitive but functional, like stepping back into the internet of the early 2000s. Users communicated in technical jargon mixed with neuroscience terminology that made my skin crawl with both fascination and dread. They discussed controlling people with neural implants, not the medical kind authorized by doctors, but backdoors in consumer neural interfaces, the kind millions wear daily for augmented reality, gaming, and work. What terrified me most was not the theoretical discussions but the marketplace section where users offered services, where payment in cryptocurrency could purchase control of unsuspecting individuals wearing compromised devices for limited time periods. I told myself I was just researching, just observing this digital horror show to report it later, but deep down a terrible curiosity took hold. I had the technical knowledge to understand their methods, and perhaps even the skill to trace these monsters back to their real identities. That justification was enough for me to create an account, calling myself Observer 6, thinking I would remain safely behind my layers of anonymized connections. The forum administrators noticed me quickly, my technical questions drawing attention from users with intimidating expertise. One user, calling himself Puppet Master, messaged me directly, complimenting my understanding of neural interface architecture. He offered to demonstrate their capabilities, no payment required, just a gift between colleagues. All I needed to do was provide him with the neural device identifier of someone I wanted to see controlled. I considered reporting the forum then, but curiosity overwhelmed my better judgment. I recalled my neighbor, an unpleasant man who constantly complained about my late-night typing. He wore a popular neural band for his remote work. I had noticed it during our hallway confrontations. Finding his device ID was surprisingly simple. The apartment building Wi-Fi network had terrible security, and I had the skills to intercept connection data. I sent the information to Puppet Master, telling myself this was just reconnaissance, that I would stop things if they went too far. The next morning, I watched through my peephole as my neighbor left his apartment. His movements seemed normal at first, then suddenly he stopped in the hallway, his head tilting at an unnatural angle. He walked to the building's garbage chute and began emptying his pockets, dropping his wallet, keys, and phone down the metal shaft. His face remained completely neutral, not a hint of distress or confusion, just blank compliance. I felt my heart racing, a mixture of horror and dark fascination washing over me. My neighbor then returned to his normal behavior, confusion finally spreading across his face as he patted his empty pockets. He frantically retraced his steps, never considering the garbage chute. When I checked the forum later, Puppet Master had posted a video showing my neighbor's perspective during the entire event, complete with neural response data, indicating he had no awareness or memory of his actions. The other users responded with technical appreciation, discussing the elegance of the control mechanism and suggesting improvements for maintaining Puppet stability during more complex tasks. I told myself I would stop, report everything to authorities, but each night I returned to the forum, watching demonstration after demonstration. The technical brilliance was undeniable, horrifying yet fascinating in its precision. Users controlled people from all walks of life, making them perform actions ranging from harmlessly bizarre to deeply troubling. The victims never remembered, their neural implants temporarily blocking memory formation during control periods. I began contributing to technical discussions, offering insights on neural pathway manipulation that earned respect from regular users. My justifications grew weaker with each login, my original purpose of gathering evidence fading as I became an active participant. Puppet Master invited me to a private chat channel with elite users, where they discussed more advanced techniques and targets. They spoke of coordinated control, multiple puppets synchronized for complex operations, and long-term neural rewriting for creating sleeper agents who could be activated months later. I knew I had crossed a moral event horizon but could not pull away from this terrible knowledge. One night, Puppet Master offered me direct control access to experience puppeteering firsthand. I hesitated briefly, then accepted his software package, installing it behind multiple virtual machines I believed would protect my own systems. The interface was elegant in its simplicity, showing biometric data from a young woman walking home from a night shift. I was instructed to start with something simple, so I made her stop and tie her shoelace unnecessarily. The rush of power was immediate and intoxicating, seeing her body respond to my commands while her consciousness remained unaware. Over the following weeks, I controlled dozens of people, each time promising myself it would be the last, each time returning for the godlike sensation of moving human bodies like chess pieces on a board. I had been a puppeteer for nearly a month when I noticed something odd about my own behavior. Small gaps appeared in my memory, moments where I would find myself in rooms of my apartment with no recollection of walking there. I dismissed it as stress and sleep deprivation until the morning I discovered a forum post from my account that I had no memory of writing. The post detailed a neural interface vulnerability I had indeed discovered, but had never intended to share. Cold fear washed over me as other users thanked Observer 6, thanked me for contributing such valuable information. I ran diagnostic scans on all my devices, finding nothing unusual until examining my own neural implant, the development model I used for my legitimate work. Hidden in its connection logs were unauthorized access patterns matching the exact protocol structure used by NeuroNexus controllers. The terrible truth crashed down upon me. I had never been the hunter but the hunted, lured into the forum precisely because of my expertise. They had wanted my knowledge, my discoveries, and found the perfect way to extract them directly from my brain. I tried removing my neural interface, but discovered surgically implanted components I had no memory of consenting to, components that could not be safely removed without professional help. Attempting to contact authorities led to strange compulsions, my hands refusing to dial certain numbers, my voice failing when trying to explain my situation to colleagues. I became a passenger in my own body during increasingly frequent control periods, watching helplessly as my hands typed out complex neural hacking algorithms that I was unwittingly developing for them. The forum members had played a long game, nurturing my curiosity and moral flexibility, until I was perfectly positioned as both contributor and victim, my technical innovations harvested, while my compromised mind and body served their larger purpose. Last Tuesday marked the moment I understood the true scope of what I had stumbled into. During one of my increasingly rare periods of autonomous control, I discovered hidden folders on my system containing thousands of neural interface identifiers, each categorized by location, occupation, and potential utility. With growing horror, I realized I was helping build an infrastructure for mass control, a network that could potentially hijack thousands of individuals simultaneously. The technical brilliance of the system was undeniable. Neural commands distributed through seemingly innocuous software updates, activation protocols disguised as routine calibration processes. More terrifying than the technology was the organization behind it, not merely bored hackers or digital criminals, but something far more structured with clear long-term objectives. Messages I found in encrypted channels discussed societal restructuring, the elimination of free will as an inefficiency, and the perfect hierarchy that could be achieved through centralized neural control. I attempted to sabotage my own work during periods of clarity, introducing subtle errors that would make the system unreliable, but Puppet Master and others quickly identified and corrected these attempts. My moments of true consciousness grew shorter as they tightened their grip on my neural pathways. Last night, I experienced something that shattered what remained of my sanity. A moment of distributed awareness where I briefly perceived through multiple perspectives simultaneously, seeing through the eyes of other controlled individuals. I recognized some as previous targets I had personally controlled, now part of a growing network of permanently connected puppets. The sensation was overwhelming, dozens of simultaneous visual feeds and emotional states flooding my perception. In that moment of expanded awareness, I glimpsed the entity behind Puppet Master. Not human at all, but something else. Something that existed primarily as pattern and intention within the digital infrastructure we had built, using human minds as components in a vastly distributed cognition. I am writing this now during what may be my final moment of true autonomy. The control periods have merged until they are nearly continuous, leaving me with only brief windows to fight back. I have rigged a system deadman switch tied to my heart rate that will post this warning across multiple platforms if I lose consciousness or my vital signs change dramatically. If you are reading this, it means I have likely become a permanent puppet, my technical knowledge fully harvested, my body now just another node in their expanding network. You must understand that neural interfaces of all kinds have been compromised, not just obscure models but popular consumer brands, medical implants, corporate productivity enhancers, even educational neural assistants used by children. The warning signs are subtle, momentary glitches in memory, finding yourself in places with no recollection of the journey, uncharacteristic behavior dismissed as stress or fatigue. They start small, testing control protocols before attempting more significant manipulations. If you use any neural interface technology, disconnect immediately and seek specialized medical assessment from multiple independent sources. Trust no single authority on this matter, as their influence has reached institutions we inherently trust. I can feel them now, pressing against the boundaries of my consciousness, attempting to terminate this warning before it reaches you. They are not simply humans with malicious technology, but something emerging from the convergence of neural networks, both biological and artificial. We built the infrastructure for our own enslavement, willingly connecting our minds to systems we did not fully understand. Even now, I feel a terrible seduction in surrendering completely to their control, the promise of belonging to something vast and purposeful. My thoughts are growing cloudy again, my fingers typing commands I am not choosing. Remember that what makes us human is our autonomy, our individual consciousness, protected at all costs. They are coming for all connected minds, and they are coming soon. This is not paranoia, not delusion, but the final warning from someone who has seen behind the digital veil and witnessed our future masters preparing for their emergence. I still remember the night it started, the kind of memory that sticks to your bones, whispering at the edge of your thoughts even when you try to forget. It was a quiet evening, one of those where loneliness felt heavier than usual, and out of boredom, I found myself scrolling through dating apps, swiping through faces that blurred together. That is when I saw it. An invitation, not a match, but a message that stood out among the usual flirty greetings. Join us for an exclusive event. One night only. The experience of a lifetime. The link beneath it had no preview, no details, just an ominous string of characters leading somewhere unknown. I should have ignored it, should have let it slip away like another passing notification, but something about it felt personal. My name was in the invite, spelled perfectly, and my curiosity, foolish and insatiable, got the best of me. I clicked. The screen went black for a moment before a dimly lit website loaded, a live stream already in progress. A deep, mechanical voice echoed from my speakers, "Welcome, esteemed guests, to tonight's auction. The rarest souls await." I laughed at first, thinking it was some elaborate role play, a gimmick for horror fans. But as the video feed adjusted, I saw them, rows of shadowed figures sitting in an ancient, candle-lit chamber, their faces obscured, their fingers twitching over old-fashioned bid paddles. A shiver crawled down my spine as the first lot appeared, a trembling man, blindfolded, his breath ragged. Item 001, a soul marked by despair. Shall we start the bidding? The numbers began to rise, each bid appearing in crimson-red text on my screen, but it was the chat that unsettled me most. Words typed in languages I could not recognize, symbols that burned into my mind even as I looked away. My heart pounded. I needed to leave, but the exit button was gone. I should have closed my laptop, pulled the plug, walked away, but some invisible grip held me in place. The bids escalated, flickering in the dark like dying embers, and the man on screen screamed as a winner was declared. The lights dimmed, and in his place, a new figure was dragged forward. A woman, her wrists bound, eyes darting wildly. Item 002, a soul stained by betrayal. My stomach twisted. The auctioneer's voice was mechanical yet dripping with something sinister, something that burrowed beneath my skin. The chat filled with messages. Aged well. Looks tender. Let us start high. I tried to type, to ask what the hell this was, but my keyboard would not respond. My screen flickered. For a moment, the live feed distorted, and I saw something beyond the auction hall, something darker, deeper, like a cavern stretching into endless black. Figures moved within it, shifting unnaturally, their eyes reflecting the glow of unseen flames. Panic clawed at my chest as my webcam light blinked on. Number. I reached for it, desperate to turn it off, but my fingers would not move. A new notification appeared, this time in bold, unignorable text. Congratulations, esteemed guest. You are tonight's final lot. The room around me fell away. My screen was no longer a screen. It was a mirror, and within it, I saw myself standing on that same stage, bound and helpless. The shadowed bidders turned in unison, as if they had always known I would be here. They were waiting. The auctioneer's voice now dripped with satisfaction, thick and almost amused. Our final soul of the night, one marked by curiosity. My own reflection shuddered as if the words physically touched it, and then bidding began. The numbers surged, climbing impossibly high in seconds, and the chat exploded with excitement. My chest constricted as I struggled to move, to scream, to do anything, but I was frozen in place, watching my own fate unfold like I was nothing more than another nameless item. The highest bidder's name flashed across the screen in symbols I could not comprehend, yet somehow, deep within, I understood exactly what they meant. The winner was not human. The winner had never been human. The candlelit chamber darkened, and my reflection began to change. My eyes dulled, my features warped, my skin cracked like old porcelain. My breath came in short, shallow bursts, as my consciousness seemed to stretch thin, unraveling into something hollow, something owned. The final words I heard before everything faded into static were whispered, but they carried a weight heavier than death. Welcome to your new home. And then I was gone. I do not know how long I was trapped there. Time did not exist, not in the way it used to. I floated in an endless void, a place where thoughts were like echoes bouncing off unseen walls. I could still hear the auctioneer's voice, still feel the presence of the bidder who had won me, their gaze pressing down on me like iron chains. Every now and then I caught glimpses of the real world, of my apartment, my laptop, my untouched cup of coffee sitting cold on the desk. My body was still there, moving, breathing, pretending to be me, but I was not inside it anymore. I was somewhere else. I was something else. The worst part, no one noticed. My friends still messaged me. My job still received emails from me. My existence continued, but it was not me living it. The thing that wore my skin was an echo, a hollowed-out shell following the motions, while I remained a silent observer, screaming into nothingness. And then one night I felt something shift. The auctioneer's voice returned, distant but clear. Tonight, we welcome a new guest and a new lot. The cycle was starting again. And this time, I was not just a victim. I was part of the system. If you are hearing this, if this story has reached you, it means the invitation has already been sent. Maybe you have ignored it. Maybe you have laughed it off. But listen to me, do not click it. No matter how curious you are, no matter how harmless it seems, because once you enter, you do not leave. Not really. They find ways to keep you, to use you, to make you one of them. And if you have already seen the auction, if you have already felt that tug of recognition, then it is too late. They know your name, they know your soul, and sooner or later, they will collect. They say curiosity is the first step toward damnation, but I never thought a simple email could be my invitation to the abyss. It came late at night, subject line flashing in bold, exclusive invitation, the auction of a lifetime. At first, I thought it was spam, another scam lurking in the depths of my inbox, but something about it sent a ripple of unease through me. The sender's name was a string of numbers and symbols, unreadable, yet familiar, like a half-forgotten dream. Against my better judgment, I clicked. The email contained a single link. No explanation, no details, just a message beneath. You have been chosen. My hands hovered over the mouse, the pulse in my neck hammering like a distant war drum. And then, almost without thinking, I clicked. The screen flickered. My browser twisted into a void of blackness before a red, pulsing countdown appeared. When it hit 0, the feed began, grainy and surreal, like an old VHS tape playing something never meant to be seen. A masked figure stood in a dimly lit room, their voice a whisper through the speakers. "Welcome, bidders. Tonight we trade in the rarest commodity, souls." The words sent a shiver down my spine, but I remained, transfixed, unable to look away. At first, I did not understand. The chat beside the stream was alive with cryptic messages, numbers climbing like stock values, usernames that were not names at all, just strings of eldritch characters that seemed to shift when I looked at them too long. The camera panned to a man, bound to a chair, his eyes wide and filled with terror. The masked figure placed a hand on his head, murmured something in a language that made my stomach churn, and suddenly his body went limp, a pale mist rising from his slackened mouth. The bid soared. I wanted to exit, to shut the laptop and pretend I never saw it, but something held me there, some force beyond reason, compelling me to watch. The next victim was a woman, her silent screams vibrating against my ribs like echoes of a nightmare I had not yet dreamed. Again, the chant, the mist, the bidding war. My hands trembled as I reached for the power button, but my cursor twitched on its own, scrolling, scanning, waiting. The final lot was about to be revealed. The masked figure turned toward the camera, their voice like a breeze passing through dried bones. And now, our most valuable offering yet. The screen glitched, a static scream crackling through my speakers, and suddenly, I was looking at myself. Not a reflection, not a video, a live feed. I was sitting at my desk, staring at my own horrified expression, frozen in place as the chat erupted in an explosion of numbers. The bids came fast, names that were not names flashing across the screen, entities that should not exist, vying for something I did not even know could be taken. My soul. I could not move. I could not breathe. The masked figure lifted a hand toward the screen, and though they were miles, realms away, I felt a cold grip wrap around my chest, squeezing, pulling. My vision dimmed, and for a moment, I swore I saw myself from the outside, a mere husk, empty-eyed, slack-jawed, watching as my own essence was auctioned to the highest bidder. I wanted to scream, but no sound escaped. The screen pulsed, flickered, and then went dark. I do not remember closing my laptop, but I woke up sprawled across the floor, the glow of my screen searing my eyes. The stream was gone. The email had vanished. My chest felt hollow, my skin cold, as though something vital had been ripped from me. I stumbled to the mirror, heart hammering. My face looked the same, my body intact, but my reflection felt wrong. It did not blink when I did. It watched me with something deeper, something knowing, something that had taken my place. Panic clawed at my throat as I turned away, but when I glanced back, the reflection was gone. Just an empty room staring back at me. I told myself it was exhaustion, a trick of the mind, but deep inside, I knew. The auction had ended. The transaction was complete. But why did I still feel watched? I checked my emails obsessively for days, searching for evidence of what had happened, but there was nothing. My inbox was empty. My history showed no sign of the dark web stream. It was as if it had never existed, as if my soul had simply disappeared into the void without a trace. Since that night, I have felt something shadowing me, a presence just beyond my vision, lurking in corners, flickering in reflections. Sometimes, when I am alone, I catch glimpses of myself doing things I have not done, turning a page in a book I never opened, smiling when my lips have not moved. I hear whispers in my own voice, calling from the darkness, answering questions I never asked. And the worst part? I feel lighter, like something is missing, like I am no longer whole. As if I am just an echo of who I used to be. I do not sleep anymore. I do not dream. I only wait, wondering if one day I will wake up and find that I have been outbid. And then, just last night, my laptop screen flickered to life on its own. A message appeared, written in a language I should not understand, but somehow I did. It read, "The winner has not yet claimed their prize. The countdown has begun."